Hi, this is Adam Blaylock, and you're listening to Adam the Movie Guy. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. Warning, the show you're about to listen to contains strong language and an unhinged host. Don't take me too serious, I'm doing a bit here, so stay the fuck off my back. Enjoy. If this shocks you, if this offends you, and you clicked on the wrong fucking podcast. Welcome back, everyone. I want to do a short episode giving my thoughts on Toxic Avenger 2 and 3, as well as the pilot episode of the Toxic Crusaders, the animated series that came out in 1991 based on the film series. You know, it is absolutely fucking astounding that Lloyd Kaufman, creator of the series and Troma Entertainment, got a cartoon series aimed at kids and families made after a property that was so violent, offensive, and over the top. I mean, if you've seen these movies, they're fucking insane. There's horrific gore, swearing, racial and sexual stereotypes, attempted borderline sexual assault, gratuitous nudity, particularly the female persuasion, cocaine. I could keep going. But what's fantastic about the series as a whole, but the first movie especially, is that it's all done in such an over-the-top satirical fashion. They get away with it and still make the movie fun and entertaining. Lloyd Kaufman is a mad fucking genius, and I mean that as the highest compliment possible, because I love the first film and the character of Toxie. Now, this episode, I'm going to talk about parts 2 and 3, which, to be honest, I was never really that fond of, and I rewatched them both for the sake of this episode to get a better opinion of them both, and well, I was partially successful with one of them. The deal with these movies is that 2 and 3 were supposed to be one big film, but they split the movies in half. You could tell that these movies were supposed to be one big film, and they just split in half, which I'll get into shortly later. As for the Toxic Crusaders pilot episode, I finally watched it after years of seeing it online on streaming sites or YouTube, and I was pleasantly surprised, which I'll talk about in the last segment. One side note I want to mention is I've never seen Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie. I'm going to give that a watch and see if all the praise it gets, particularly the sentiment that it's closer to the feel of the first movie that I love so much, and check that out and see if that's true. Well, let's get into them all, starting with Toxic Avenger 2.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
Now, I absolutely loved the first Toxic Avenger movie, and upon seeing they made sequels, I truly expected to at least have just as much love for them as much as the OG, and I'm sad to say it's not the case here. The sequels are a noticeable step down from the original movie. I meant they went wackier and a bit too childish in my opinion. With Toxic Avenger Part 2, right off the bat, I have problems with this fucking movie. With the voice change for Toxie, his name change from Melvin Ferd in the first film to Melvin Junko, which apparently was because Lloyd Kaufman's fear of a lawsuit from Mad Magazine. And another big change I absolutely hated was that Toxie has a new girlfriend, so Sarah is gone, and his new girlfriend, Claire, who, funny enough, is also blind, fucking sucks. I mean, I know Sarah was somewhat ditzy in the first movie, but holy shit, this new chick is fucking unbelievable. Also, her dress is so overtly sexual to the point where it's a fucking turnoff, and I never complain about that shit. I mean, to put it simply, I'd fuck Sarah, I would not fuck this new girlfriend, Claire. But anyway, getting into the plot, Part 2's plot is that an evil corporation called Apocalypse Inc. wants to take over Tromaville by polluting it, and they need to destroy Toxie to achieve that goal. And to do that, they trick him into going over to Japan to find his long-lost father, and Toxie gets into some hijinks over there in Tokyo. Meanwhile, Apocalypse Inc. is ruining Tromaville. I mean, honestly, the best part of this movie was Toxie in Japan, running around Tokyo, fighting criminals, and befriending a really pretty Japanese woman, Asami, who assists him in fighting his father. And we get some really bloody, fun action with Toxie taking out baddies in some pretty fucking hilarious ways. And we get a surprising amount of TNA in a Japanese bathhouse sequence that was pretty appreciated, I gotta be honest. The whole plot with Apocalypse Inc. at the end was kind of rushed since the film and part 3 were one big movie and got split in half. They put a lot more focus on Apocalypse Inc. in part 3, which I'm gonna get to next. Overall, I award this film 2.5 mops out of 5. It is a big step down from part 1, and I wish I could say it's going to get better, but I'm fucking dreaming there. The Japanese sequences, the Japan sequences truly saved the film, but I just can't look past the change in tone and the wackier approach that this film took compared to the first. Something that this film and part 3 have in common. Ugh. Now, let me dive into part 3.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
Alright, on to Toxic Avenger 3. This movie was boring as shit, and I don't really have many positives to say about it, to be honest. I mean, the increased focus on Apocalypse Inc. and the reveal the chairman is literally the devil was kind of interesting, but it could have been so much better. And the whole subplot of Toxie joining them to pay for Sarah's... I can't believe they changed his fucking girlfriend's name. Claire. Oh my god. See, this is why they shouldn't have changed the girlfriend, because this new one sucks so much I can't even bother to remember her fucking name. Claire. So anyway, the whole subplot of Toxie joining Apocalypse Inc. to pay for Claire's eye surgery so she could see again was also kind of interesting as a subplot, but him acting like a yuppie prick seemed a little bit too ridiculous even for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, this movie and the last, and yes, the first two was ridiculous, but like I said, the first one actually had an edge to it, and it actually has a much higher rewatchability factor compared to 2 and 3, where this film and the last just almost felt like a chore for a majority, especially part 3, to get through. Part 2 at least had some merit and enjoyable factor with the whole Toxie in Japan. That actually was really fun. I wish they would have stuck to that instead of shoehorning Apocalypse Inc. into the whole mix. At least they should have saved that for all of part 3. Like I said, I think the biggest issue these movies had was that they were all one big movie, but it got split in half, which kind of screwed the story over. One positive I can name from Toxic Avenger 3 was the opening sequence at the video store with Toxie taking out the criminals was the only segment I really enjoyed for this movie. I mean, when you got a film about a toxic mutant superhero facing off against the devil, it should be a lot more interesting to watch. Overall, I award this movie 2 mops out of 5. Next up, I want to get into the 1991 first episode of the Toxic Crusaders, which, thank God, because the last 2 films were a disappointment. Well, especially 3. 2, I could at least give another go.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
Now on to the Toxic Crusaders, and wow, I was honestly surprised at how enjoyable this was to watch. You know, I was skeptical thinking they wouldn't be able to translate this extremely violent, offensive adult property into a family cartoon and still be interesting. But honestly, I was happy to be wrong because I cracked a lot of grins watching this pilot episode and the leaning on the fourth wall in terms of being almost aware of the fact that they're making an adaptation and they just want to set up what Toxie becomes in the premise of the show with its new wacky supervillains like Dr. Killamoff and his henchmen trying to pollute Tromaville, and inadvertently become the cause of Melvin getting his superpowers from the toxic waste.
Ah, yes, Cruxolium, the deadliest toxic waste known to man. The best is the last unpolluted city in New Jersey, Tromaville.
I don't know if that's such a good idea, Doc. What if some complete and hopeless nerd falls into the gasoleum and transforms into a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength?
Don't be ridiculous! A complete and hopeless nerd.
I wish I wasn't a complete and hopeless nerd. Maybe then I'd have a girlfriend who loves me for who I am. Or at least confuses me with someone else.
And Melvin's more comedic transformation into Toxie, with the crowd of onlookers being much more self-aware of the situation.
I'm changing into something horrible. I'm changing into a school teacher. Oh no! I'm changing into something even more horrible now. I'm turning into
a movie producer.
Oh no! I'm changing again! I'm changing into a
hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength!
To setting up him living in the Tromaville dump.
Oh, what am I gonna do? Now that I'm a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength, where will I even live?
Try the toxic waste dump.
Thanks, Mom. I knew I could count on you.
And getting a blind, or in this case, nearsighted girlfriend, this time named Yvonne.
Can you tell our home viewers what just happened here?
I'm not sure, but I think my new boyfriend talks to his mom.
To also Melvin having his superhero persona immediately established.
We understand your name is Melvin Junko.
Not anymore. From now on, my name is Toxic, and I'm a crusader against pollution, crime, and other stuff.
They do some new things in this animated adaptation, such as Melvin's mop is sentient and mutated just like him, and he has mutant sidekicks that help him fight crime, and Melvin's villains are either other mutants like Bonehead, who's basically Bozo from the original movie, and Dr. Killamoff, who is an alien from the planet Smogula. One of the funniest moments was when Toxie's sidekicks just show up out of the blue without being introduced, and they're already mutated, asking Toxie that if they can join him. This series is self-aware, and on the first episode, they nailed that type of comedy as if they were winking the whole time out. Last thing I wanted to talk about is the theme song for the show, because it fucks pretty hard.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders. I had no friends, no girls that helped me till I got radioactive ugly. Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders. I learned it up 'cause the rent's real low. Got a little black Barbie, loves me so. Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders. Now hear the boys fight against wrong. No, we're hideously deformed. Hey, I'm sitting on top of the world with my mom, tutu, and girl. Wow! Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
It's the kind of theme song that sounds so 90s rock, it's perfect. They really don't make cartoon intros like this anymore. Matter of fact, a large amount of 80s and 90s cartoon themes are headbangers. Another example I can think of at the top of my head is the Marvel animated series of the 90s, like Spider-Man the Animated Series. Or hell, Iron Man's cartoon intro goes so goddamn hard, with Tony Stark in the intro making his suits and striking the hammer on the anvil. I'm very happy that I gave this cartoon a go, and I give it 3 mops out of 5. A very solid cartoon and something I can honestly rewatch multiple times.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
Alright everyone, before I end the episode, I have one final update as of this recording. I finally watched Toxic Crusaders 4, Citizen Toxie, and well...
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer!
I think this movie is giving me AIDS. I think if I took a blood test right now, I would test positive for AIDS.
This film was so goddamn terrible, I had to shut it off 40 minutes in and I couldn't stand it. My motherfucking life expectancy is now lower for having seen this shit. The few brain cells I have left are now dead, and I didn't have a lot of those to begin with anyway. What the fuck were they thinking with this one? I'm sorry to Troma and Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd, I love your work, man. You're a great guy, and I love all your other stuff, but this one just isn't it for me. The most insulting part was that this shits on part 2 and 3 by directly insulting them and saying it's the true sequel to the first one, which is fucking insane. And I don't even love part 2 and 3, although 2 I'm slowly warming up to. I award this one 1 mop out of 5, and that's all I'm gonna fucking say about it. Well, guys, this is the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. Take care.